Coronado, California is unrecognizable in the late 19th century from the Coronado of today. During San Diego's mid-1800s land boom, the flat land that isn't actually an island but a peninsula became an investment opportunity, making way for the beautiful seaside Queen Anne Victorian style Hotel del Coronado, or the Del as it is fondly called.
San Diego really experienced a huge surge of construction during 1885 when the Transcontinental Railroad came to San Diego. With that, our population swelled from a couple of thousand to over 40,000 people. And so with that came a lot of people looking for opportunities.
Building on those opportunities are Elisha Babcock Jr. and Hampton L. Story, who immediately see Coronado's potential. They purchased the 4,185-acre property for a mere $110,000 in 1885. Babcock and Story soon retain architects and brothers James and Watson Reed to design their grand wooden hotel. Hundreds of workers are immediately hired to carry out the hotel's construction.
Babcock and Story, their vision was to create something that would be the talk of the Western world. And so they had very grand visions from the very beginning. The Reed brothers did an initial sketch of the property, and it was meant to be huge. It was meant to have well over 400 guest rooms.
Due to a lack of local wood, lumber is floated down from San Francisco to San Diego in large rafts. Just about everything is manufactured on site, including the red bricks, ironwork, and ornamental flourishes. The moderate San Diego climate and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad quickly attract wealthy East Coast families who are eager to escape the cold winters.
By 1888, the railroad came around San Diego Bay and up the Strand right to the Del. So you literally could take your own private rail car from back east all the way across the country. It would take about 5 days, and bring it straight to the Del and park your rail car. They would unload their trunks and luggage.
Victorians loved their gardens. The Del was designed around an open court nearly 1 acre in size. It was planted by Kate Sessions, a prominent San Diego horticulturist. Sessions chose tropical plants, flowers, and 2 royal palms. Today, bougainvillea, dwarf palm, and birds of paradise still thrive in the garden patio area. By 1890, sugar tycoon John D. Spreckles acquires the Del. He has plans to attract new hotel guests by creating Tent City.
He took the land south of the Del, which was not being very well utilized, and he put these tents on the Strand. It was meant to be seasonal, it was meant to be very temporary housing, and he called it Camp Coronado originally. And this was to attract people from Arizona, from Nevada, New Mexico, from dry, hot climates, get them over to the beach.
In November of 1892, tragedy strikes the Del when a guest checks in alone and ends her life on one of the exterior staircases. She's identified as 24-year-old Kate Morgan. To this day, hotel guests and employees continue to report ghostly encounters, particularly in what is now known as the Kate Morgan Room. Designated a National Historic Landmark in 1977, the Del is a living legend and celebrates its rich history as the proud host to royalty, beach-loving guests, and celebrities.
Lauren Bacall, Betty Davis, Humphrey Bogart, Errol Flynn, Clark Gable are some of the old movie stars that have been here, Lana Turner. In more recent, and back in the 50s, their press agents, of course, would let us know they were coming. So there were staged photos.
Since the early 1900s, movie stars and movie makers have been frequenting the Del. It has been a sought-after set for filmmakers as well as a popular vacation getaway for celebrities. From men of industry to sports figures to famed authors, 11 U.S. presidents, and who can forget the 1959 comedy classic Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe. From the start, the Hotel del Coronado is built to be a world-renowned seaside resort. The Del's guest registers are a veritable who's who of society for over a century.
One of Elisha Babcock's dream was to create something that would live on beyond him, that would carry on forever. And actually at that time period, that was a pretty lofty goal because that just didn't happen. A lot of Victorian resorts burned.
So much care has been taken in preserving the Dell through the decades. It is still the premier resort the Founding Fathers envisioned 130 years ago, and families are still making long-lasting memories at the beautiful Queen Anne Victorian-style hotel. The historic industrial buildings at the Hotel del Coronado date back as early as 1887, others from around 1910. The buildings play a major role in the hotel's construction and later in the hotel's early day-to-day operations. The majority of these structures will be preserved during the amended master plan renovations and construction. They are the power plant, the ice house, the laundry building, the Oxford building, the smokestack, and the tunnel.
Originally, the power plant was the first building erected in 1887, and that remained in effect until 1922. It actually supplied all of the power to Coronado Island itself, so it was built to be robust.
The power plant was built to provide electricity to the hotel and to all of Coronado Island in 1887. Next door is the original ice house, which produced up to 15 tons of ice daily, supplying ice to the hotel and Coronado residents. The historic ice house and a portion of the ice storage building will be saved. There are items that will be salvaged and reused from this room. Nearby is the laundry building, which is now vacant, but it was in use for more than a century until early 2018. It provided laundry services not only to the hotel's guests, but also Coronado residents. The laundry building will be saved and repurposed. The exterior white paint will be carefully removed to reveal the red brick again. Architect David Marshall explains the process of evaluating and reusing these buildings.
Well, we are at the back, or the east side of the powerhouse, in the boiler room area as well. And you can see all the original red clay bricks. Now they fired all these bricks on site because they didn't have the ability to truck in construction materials, so they milled their own wood and they fired their own bricks, and they had their own iron foundry as well.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, it was a whole city out here in order to make this building. There's old photos where you can see the black smoke coming out. But when the hotel first built their powerhouse, they had 2 smaller smokestacks, and then when they upgraded a few years later, they added this very tall smokestack, which is a historic feature, and it's not used anymore.
The historic 100-foot smokestack was originally used to heat the hotel and guest rooms by burning coal. While it hasn't been in use for more than a century, it was recently retrofitted and it's in great shape. Right next door to the smokestack is the machine shop, also referred to as the carpentry and paint building, which dates from about 1910. Both were used for all of the hotel's carpentry and painting needs for more than a century until 2018.
It's a really interesting building in that it's all the original construction, where it's the exposed wood. You can see we call this single wall construction.
You can see the building holds more than a century of history, but not significant historic value. It will be removed to accommodate the hotel's needs, but numerous items will be salvaged and reused, including the old-growth Douglas fir wood. At the south end of the industrial area, there's the Oxford building. It was the first Coronado hotel, opening in July 1887. The hotel has had numerous uses, and it was moved multiple times until the Dell purchased it. The Oxford was relocated to the hotel site in 1983, where it was renovated for administrative office space. The Oxford will receive interior and exterior renovations as part of the master plan, which will bring back some of the building's historic elements. To keep the historic Hotel del Coronado at the top of its game for another 100 years, the master plan is being implemented starting in 2019. The plan will provide the roadmap for future enhancements and new guest experiences. There are 5 key components to the master plan. They are the main entry, conference center, underground parking, an additional 144 guest rooms and suites, and nearby street beautification. Kathy Breedlove first explains the main entry.
It restores the historic sense of arrival that the hotel began with. So you have a main entry drive that is a nice progression from Avenida del Sol, from the south end of the property, up to the historic hotel with that view of the turret as you're arriving.
Second, a new conference center and the reorganization of parking with a new underground structure will be created.
When we put the parking underground, we have the ability to build above that. So we're building a new conference center, which will provide modern meeting space for groups and event space. And the conference center will open onto one of these new lawn areas, the Great Lawn, which will have views to the historic hotel.
Additionally, the plan includes 144 new hotel guest rooms adjacent to the new conference center. The new buildings are designed in an architectural style that is compatible with, yet distinguished from, the historic hotel.
They'll have a connection to the outdoors, with each room having its own patio or balcony. There'll be ocean views, bay views, pool views. The new rooms will be oriented around an ocean view pool courtyard, which will create a great experience.
There will be new landscape sidewalks and street edge improvements around the property, with a safe pedestrian crosswalk from the hotel to the bay. There's also new restoration plans for the historic hotel's facade to bring back the original 1888 historical look.
In combination with the new main entry, the front porch restoration, it just contributes to that overall feeling of, you're arriving at the Dell, you're experiencing what visitors would have experienced, back in 1888.
The master plan will begin in 2019 and is expected to be completed in 2022, including the front porch, new guest rooms, and conference center. The upgrades are especially important because the Dell is a top meeting destination, and business conferences help support the hotel and the city of Coronado year-round. In addition to the new buildings, the master plan includes significant renovations to the hotel's main entry and historic front porch. Architect David Marshall explains the renovations.
The yellow area is again the open air veranda. The light gray walls are walls that we're going to be demolishing, and then the dark walls are walls that are remaining.
Using a 3D video simulation, David shows how the improvements will bring back significant historical elements that have been lost through countless alterations to the hotel's facade.
This gives you an idea about how large the veranda actually was, bringing back the double-hung windows, the old entry doors, and just taking you kind of around on the veranda, looking back toward what is the porte cochere, which is the drive-up, drop-off area for the front lobby.
To help design an accurate recreation, David will use old photos to identify the hotel's historic elements. The exterior between the crown room and the ballroom will be renovated as part of the master plan. The two sets of steps leading to the hotel's entry were original and will be brought back. The hotel entry ramp will be improved. There are also renovations to the second floor.
Those gable roofs are missing and will be brought back, and these balconies, which you see, this second floor balcony is almost completely gone today. So what you see in this rendering is going to be recreated.
The 4 separate guest rooms along the front will be reduced in order to recreate the historic balconies that were part of the hotel in 1888.
There's a whole layering of additions, especially at the ground floor, that we're going to try to be undoing. We're not going to be able to bring it back exactly the way it was, but we're going to be able to bring back the appearance of the hotel as much as we can.
The original stained glass window on the 3rd floor will be installed back to its original 2nd floor location. Implementation of the master plan will begin in 2019, including the front porch renovation along with the new conference center and guest rooms. In the end, the master plan will open up a new chapter in the life of this legacy resort. It will also help the Dell stay relevant for generations to come.